Thank you for coming on to the Veteran-Owned Business. Today we have Ali Rodriguez with Kaveo Leadership. Hi,
Hmm.
thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me on. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So first, can you tell us more about, or tell us about your time in the service? You were in the Air Force, correct?
That's right. I was in the Air Force. So I commissioned out of the Virginia Military Institute and became an intelligence officer for the Air Force. And then my career was a little bit different. I only had two assignments in the Air Force for my 21 years of service. My very first one in Korea and my very last one in Germany in Ramstein. And then in between, I was a joint. So I spent more time with the other services than my own. I was an Army General's aide, a Navy Admiral's executive assistant, an EA. I spent time at the Pentagon and the Joint Staff, um, deployed with special operations in Afghanistan, and spent a year in Iraq, the Army guys. And so, yeah, I've been around the world, and I've been very fortunate, very excited, very happy for my career.
That is really cool. You don't meet very many people who have that opportunity. So you don't have to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it. You can say that's classified if you want to, but which branch did you like the best?
Ooh, oh, that's a tough one. I'll say I actually enjoyed working with the Army the best
Yeah.
because, and I'll tell you why. Because as an Air Force guy working with the Army, they can't really tell you what to do because I'm there to help them. So I was kind of an advisor the whole time. So everybody wanted me around. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun when I was embedded with Army units.
That's really cool and not what I expected, actually. That's very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Um,
Yeah.
so tell me more about Caveo. And at what point did the beginning thoughts of this come about? Like what prompted you to start your company?
Yeah, sure. So back in 2010, I got my master's degree in leadership. And as part of my program, I had a coach assigned to me, a leadership coach. And it was then that I realized that at some point in life, I wanted to open my own business. In what? I had no idea, but I wanted to open up a business. And then you fast forward those last 10 years of service, and I really spent most of my time. Um, I became passionate, really obsessed with building high performing teams, with mentoring, with helping others and enabling others. And so it hit me, around 2016. I was like, man, if there's only a job that I could get after the service that would pay me, to be able to help others like this. And of course, it hit me, coaching. So that's what I did. So in 2017, I went back to Georgetown, got my coaching certification, and that's when I knew I was going to open my coaching company as soon as I retired. And so I opened Kaveo while I was on terminal leave, as I was heading out.
That's like the perfect time, right? Your things are starting to dwindle down on the active duty side and
Yeah.
um, ramping up your business, and that's amazing. Um, so you offer several services ranging from coaching to assessments. So
Mhm.
what are you most known for?
So I think what we are most known for is tailored services. And so we do offer coaching, executive and leadership coaching. We also offer assessments like 360s, personality assessments, but we also do facilitation. So teaching and training and doing workshops and those kinds of things. So what makes us different is that we have a robust needs analysis process. So whenever we meet somebody, we tailor everything that we do for that client. And I think that's what sets us apart.
That's nice. Um, I guess that's one of the things that I've noticed, just I guess civilian jobs and stuff is not one size doesn't fit all. So that's
Exactly.
great that you tailor that to everyone. And I'm sure that your clients appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Um, so your team appears to be pretty much worldwide, right? Remind me where you are again.
I am physically in Madrid, Spain.
Nice. And then you've got
Mhm.
people in other areas as well, right?
I have
So
folks in Italy and strewn throughout the US.
nice. So can you tell me more about that and then how it benefits your business and your clients?
Yeah, so the company is fully remote. And I think the best part is that we have the ability to, let's say, on a coaching front, to marry a coach with somebody in your time zone, right?
Nice.
At the same token, since we are in Europe, we have access to multiple markets. So the European market as well as the US market. And I have a client as far as Pakistan. And so we really are an international company. And so where we are enables us to, I don't know, just to be able to do more things for more people in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so most of your clients, are they like what would you say what percentage is US based and overseas?
Yeah, I'd say about 80 to 90% are US based and 10% are international.
Okay.
But I think that's going to change this coming year. We're opening up the market here in Spain. I've been doing a lot of networking recently, so that's the next step. Mhm.
Nice. And do you are most of your clients, are they prior military or are they not so much military affiliated?
Using that same 80% number, 80% are not military, and 20% are probably military or former service
Nice.
members. Mhm.
So what would you say was your biggest learning curve when getting everything started? I know that everybody has different pain points. So what would you say is the biggest thing that you had to kind of work through?
Yeah, there's so many things, to be honest with you. There really were. Um, I think the loosely, broadly, I should say, it's finance. So the bookkeeping, the financials, the regulation, the taxes, the 1099, what is that? And, those kinds of things. So, but ultimately, I think it boiled down to pricing strategy was
Mm,
probably the most difficult thing to wrestle with because we're not used to charging for our time, right? So how much am I worth? How much is an hour of my time worth? That's an interesting question to ask somebody, especially when they're still in uniform, right? Because as we step out into the private sector, well, there's an element of what we don't actually know what that new world looks like. And so how much are we actually worth? And how much is our time worth? So how much do we charge? You know?
that's that's a big one for sure. I
Yeah. So that has evolved over the years.
Yeah, because you have new costs too, right? And I think a lot of people who aren't in entrepreneurship, they don't really understand like if you go to a photographer, I just say photographer because that's where my
Mhm.
background is. So you have where you're taking a picture of a family for an
Mhm.
hour and then it's hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars, right? And they're like, well, you were only with us for 60 minutes. That's a really good paycheck, but they don't see all the costs behind that, all the hours that it took to get that client, all
Mhm.
the work that you do afterwards. So,
Yeah.
um, did you? I know this might. Sorry to kind of cut you off if I asked you this question.
No, no,
But,
no, it's okay.
so was there anything in particular that you found was very helpful in helping you find your worth and what you needed to charge in order to make your business to where you weren't just dumping money, like spending more of your own money than actually making it a business?
Sure, sure. A couple things actually I found very helpful. One is mentors. So asking others is like, how much do you charge? And they're like, well, so instead of saying how much they would actually charge, they gave me their strategy of how they came around to their pricing. So I think the best piece of advice that I got is that, when you first start off, you ask for that price that makes you a little bit nervous. So let's say $50, right? It's like, I can't believe I'm going to charge somebody $50. So you do it. And they say, yeah, sure, no problem. Here's your $50. Like, well, your new price point is $50. And then the next time comes around, you're like, $100. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm like, and it really just kind of, it moves, it elevates. So as you get more comfortable, you just reach out to that point where you feel just a little bit nervous, and that's the price that you ask for, and you keep working it.
Okay. So who is your ideal client and where would you like to see Kaveo be 3 years from now?
Sure. Our ideal client is that emerging leader, that middle manager. It's that person that's hungry, and just really wants to grow, but they just don't know how. And so all they need is a little bit of a push, and you watch them just flourish, right? And that's the person we're looking for. Those are the kinds of people that we are looking for. So, fast forward a few years down the road, and we want to be able to have a full program, like a 6 month or year-long program that we can offer folks, so they can come and get coaching, assessments, and go through some classes. So a full executive development program, for folks to come. Yeah.
So what is, if someone were to hire you now, what does that typically look like? What are the steps that they'll, or I guess more of like the time investment more than the monetary. So what are they looking to do?
You mean like a typical client, you mean, when they come to
Right.
us?
Like, is it
Yeah.
just one, is it just like an assessment initially, or do you have like different programs now that you,
Mhm.
depending on where they're at in their situation?
Yeah. So we benefit from having curriculum designers on my team. So, some of the folks that we have are pretty impressive. One helped design the FBI's Leadership Academy, for example, and he's on our team. And so the idea is that when somebody comes to us, um, our most recent client, a corporate client, asked us to design their leadership competencies. So we facilitated a dialogue with them on how to come up with those things. And then we offered coaching to each of their folks that want to go through that. So we did that with their C-suite. And so it's being able to tailor those services like that, and offering all the different services together, for development. And
Okay.
so, a quick segue, a quick sidebar tangent here. Training is a one-time event. Want to just insert a nugget, and great. But development are multiple touch points over time, right? And that's how people end up growing. That's how people grow, and
I
that's what
love,
we want to do. That's how people grow.
that's awesome. So it's not just the individual, you've got companies as well that are
Yeah,
using your services. And
absolutely.
I'm right in there with you with it, because I'm one of those people that if like someone, like I might read a book, um
Hmm.
but and I'll be all gung ho about whatever it was that I learned in there. But if there's like, time goes on and I get busy doing something else,
Yeah.
then I kind of forget. I forgot what I wrote about, or read about, forget like what I was doing. And I, next thing I know, it's 3 months down the road and I'm like, oh, where have I been? So, so the fact that you guys offer that, that's great. I think that's, I mean, it sounds like a great plan and a great plan of action for any company that uses your services. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I may, while you were talking about a book, for example, one of the other things we offer is something called iron circles, which are peer circles. It's based on the premise of iron sharpens iron. So you get a small group of folks, 4 to 6 people, over a 6 month period where you meet monthly, and whether it's a book or something else, but you hold each other accountable and you come together to debate ideas, and continue to grow, again, over time. And that's a completely separate service.
That's awesome. I love that. Sounds like you guys have a lot.
Hey, it's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun. There's
Well,
15
that,
of us.
that
So,
oh, 15?
yeah, there's 15 of us. Hmm.
Oh, yeah, and that, I guess that, I mean, that just supports your, your customized services tailored to the client versus just that one size
Hmm.
fits all. So that just backs that up. That's that's awesome. I love it. So what would you say, kind of getting off like Kaveo, but just businesses in general, right?
Hmm.
So what would you say is the most important, or what would you feel is the most important when it comes to starting your own business? What kind of advice would you give?
I would say to have a propensity for action, you know, but it has to be balanced with patience and humility. And I think it's the combination of those three things, that little brew, if you will. It's at least my recipe for success that I would recommend to others. Excuse me. Um, because when you have that propensity to action, you're going to step forward and you're going to step out of your comfort zone. You're going to do, you're going to learn, and you're going to grow, but you're going to make mistakes, and you got to be okay with that. You're going to fail, and you're going to fail often. And the sooner you fail, the quicker you will succeed. And so when you can take that step back with that patience, knowing that it's going to happen, right? But that humility to be able to reflect and learn and grow and ask good questions. And then each time that you keep pushing forward, it's going to be a little bit better than the last time. Yeah.
That's
That's what
great.
it's like.
That is great advice. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think there's a lot of business owners that start, maybe don't have everything in line, or they, I guess everybody's situation is a little bit different, but just
Mhm.
I love that advice. So, um, well, that concludes my questions for you. I really appreciate you coming on, and sharing your story and sharing your services.
Yeah.
Hopefully this hits a trigger for somebody and you get some new clients from out of this. So just give me your pitch.
Give you your pitch. Give you my pitch.
Yes.
um, we have an altruistic spirit, and we have compiled a team of really kind-hearted and compassionate folks. And we really are here to make the world a better place. And so we hope that we can uh, help you along your journey, wherever you are.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Cindy. It's been a pleasure.